Hello, my lovely. We know as women with adult diagnosed ADHD that we did not get to where we are right now by doing things the way everyone else did, right? We know we've often felt like the weirdo in the room. I know I did for a really, really long ass time. We're natural born storytellers and industry disruptors, and we love to shake shit up. We don't like being told what to do, but also low-key help us by telling us what to do in a way that speaks to our brains because we are wired to see the world in a different way. I know that my diagnosis, which was at 49 years old and happened while running this business, changed every area of my life. And I don't say that anecdotally, I mean that literally. It also changed my business for the better because I got curious and I started working in the way that my brain worked. I started to simplify to scale my business and I created recurring monthly revenue so I never have to start another month at zero again. And that is what I teach my clients how to do. It's my signature method called the spicy minded way. And all that means is that my ADHD brain and 25 years of business experience talks to your ADHD brain. And that is how we figure out what works for you. In today's episode, we will discuss becoming the go-to in your industry, why there's far less competition in your industry than you think there is, a story about my kiddo, the Man Cub, and what persistence and tenacity gets you when you believe in something before you have the proof. From one ADHD woman in business to another, turn the volume up to an 11 and get ready to learn a thing or two. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneu, the podcast for ADHD millennial women who refuse to play by the rules. Refuse, is that even a word? Who are ready to show up as your feral self because being beige is fucking boring and who want to simplify their businesses to scale it. And if you're not a millennial, that's okay. That's just who tends to be attracted to me in my business. So my name is Carrie. I'm your host. I am your ADHD business alchemist. I can't talk today. And I'm the chief weirdo of my brand, Carrie Out Loud. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you found the podcast. If this episode has an impact on you, could you do me a quick favor? If you're listening, subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening, and leave a 5-star review that helps other women like you find the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, hello, be sure to subscribe so that you can come back every week for the next episode. Since I understand ADHD both personally and professionally, each episode has a few topics so that I don't bore your fucking face off. And since we think in trains of thought, that is how these episodes roll. They roll in a way that speaks to your feral funhouse of a brain. So let's get to our first topic. What it takes to become the go-to in your industry for what you do. The first piece is having an unfuckwithable, unshakable vision of what you want to do. To go all in every day, ADHD be damned. I didn't say work every day. I said be all in every day. You know you are in it for the long haul, and you know you're going to do what it takes to get there because you know you can. That's first and foremost, baby. You've gotten to where you are right now. You've survived 100% of your hardest days. You can do whatever the fuck you put your mind to. Working with your brain versus against it is key. And planning for, like I was just saying, potato days, having automations and systems that support you so that you can do the things that you love the most. That is number one. That is one of the largest steps. Because if you think Greta Gerwig made Barbie all by her ADHD ass brain self, think about it. She had massive support around her. All different types of people who go into making a movie like that. But she was the head of that. And she has ADHD. So don't tell me what you can't do. But making sure that you have a vision, but that you build in certain pieces into your business that support you as an ADHD human being, humongous. The next piece is act as if before you see the results. You cannot wait to show up until someone tells you you're good enough. That ain't it. That is not the vibe. One of the side effects of getting diagnosed with ADHD is self-confidence. If you're earlier in your diagnosis, I don't know, if you're new listening to this, I got diagnosed while running the current business I'm running, while running Carry Out Loud. My self-esteem before my diagnosis was in the shitter, and I hardly knew who I was as a human being. Over the last 2 years, after I pivoted to work with ADHD women and really dug into who I am as a person, I used to ask everybody for their opinion about everything to validate my ideas being good, to validate me as a person, to clap for me, to wait for somebody to tell me I'm good enough. Until one day, I told myself I was good enough. I have 25 years of business experience under my belt. I have helped tons of women change the trajectory of their business. I don't need anyone to tell me I'm good enough. I am. Also, show up like the expert, the disruptor before you arrive. I did finger quotes for those of you who are listening. You will put in time and energy and effort to get the fucking plane off the ground. Sometimes we are building the plane on the way up. Messy fucking action. The stuff people does, the stuff that others don't see on the way there. Unless, of course, you share it with them, which, by the way, that's part of what I do. I'm doing something in my business that I've never done before. I'm creating my first 7-figure year. And that's not because it's about money necessarily, because there's a lot I want to do with it. I want to donate to ADHD research and some other things, plus live a lifestyle that is comfortable and to plan for more for retirement, etc. Right? So I have reasons for my goal, but your goal doesn't have to be the same. It can be whatever you want it to be. But once I really realized that I was far more of an authority than I gave myself credit for, and I really searched deep inside of myself to figure out who I am now, who I am after the diagnosis, who I am under the conditioning, who I am under the bullshit other people put on me, who I am, not Frankenstein. I wrote a post today about how I used to feel like I was Frankenstein, a part of this person, a piece of that person's business, a part of this, a part of that. And I was attaching, like Sally from, oh, you're all yelling at me right now, Nightmare Before Christmas. I believe it was Sally. She put herself together in parts and pieces so she could get around, but she was very, wobbly. That was me as a person. Because I got diagnosed with a neurological condition at 49 that I didn't know I had. And I didn't know who I was. I got curious and I took the time to figure that out. And that is the difference in me over the last 6 months than prior to that time frame. It is only truly in the last 6 months where I got quiet. I listened to myself, and I only spoke with a couple of very trusted business sisters, some who are where I am at and some who are at levels far above me. And that's it. Not everyone and their brother, a couple of trusted people. If I needed advice along the way, genuine advice along the way. And of course, I have a business mentor as well. But sometimes we need those humans that we can just reach out to in the moment. But it's not for validation, right? Show up as if you are already there. And this was such a fucking weird concept for me to grasp. What do you mean show up before I'm already there? Isn't that lying? No, because you have the authority. And I will explain that to you because This is something I'm going to talk about in another episode, but 100 hours of doing anything means you know 95% more than anyone else about that topic. Take that shit and run, because you know you have 100 hours in of coaching or of being a service provider of some kind, of being on social media. You have put in that time already. I can guarantee you that. If you're listening to this and you're in my world, it's because you have been around for a while. So when I say act as if, it's not because you're not telling the truth. It's because you actually know more than 95% of the other people about the thing you do. Act like it. As you come up, you have to be willing to suck hardcore and get better on the way up. Putting in the reps. You have to believe in the things you cannot yet see, and you have to hold that vision for as long as it takes you to start to see the proof. That is a bizarre concept about business that not everyone will or can or wants to wrap their mind around. But when you're a visionary, a trailblazer, a shaker upper, somebody who shakes tables, and gets people riled up about something, you can hold that vision for sure. Because a lot of what's happening in your business and in your world has been something you've been thinking through and thinking about day in and day out for a long time. And as you have sucked and put in the reps and started really building, you are at a more elite level than you realize. My business mentor said this, and I absolutely loved it. There is so much less traffic at the top. She talked about how is there saturation in any given industry? Yeah, there's a saturation of mediocrity. If you are mediocre at what you do, you are not all in. This is not your purpose. You're just trying it out or whatever. And again, no judgment. But when you start playing at a very different playing field and a very different level, you will have far less competition. So few people in business are willing to put in the energy, the time, and the effort to get there. And that is how you stand out. Genuinely caring about people, making connections, genuinely giving a shit about others. When I owned my first business, the thing I said over and over again that got me to 6 figures in my early 20s, before I knew I had ADHD, is if I take care of my clients, if I take care of my people, the money is just a beautiful side effect of that shit. And it was true. It was absolutely true. And I've carried that all along with me through entrepreneurship from when I started at 24 years old. I give a shit about people. Who you see, who you hear here, who you see on Instagram or anywhere else that you are looking or listening to anything that I do, I care about connecting. I care about collaboration. I care and give a genuine shit about other people. And because of that, once somebody comes into my world, they see I'm the same person as you're hearing here, as you're seeing there, that I'm the same person, probably a little more dorky and a little more feral, a little more wild. But it's the same human being, because I want you to know exactly what you're getting. But I also know I have a ton of experience. I worked with ADHD women day in and day out. I understand your brains. I am not you. I do not fully understand everything you contend with, but there are through lines. And because of that, I know that I have a lot less competition than I used to think I did, because I know what I am good at, what I help the best with, and I know there is less traffic at that level. I speak differently than I used to, actually. I don't do the, oops, I lost my keys, ADHD story. Yeah, I lose my keys. I was talking to my son on the phone one time and looking for my phone. Like, yes, I have that kind of shit happen to me all the time. But see, my clients and my business are my hyper focus. So I am fucking dialed in when it comes to my business and the people that I work with. I become obsessed with your business. I have people that I don't even work with yet where I'm like, God, oh, just let me at your business. I know I can help so much. It's like because I care and I think that these ideas that women with ADHD come up with are just fucking genius, or they are so good at what they do and they don't see it yet. So I don't go around saying a lot of the oops, I lost my keys and some of the silly things that we do contend with and that are very relatable, because I talk about what's possible for women with ADHD, how far and high you can go. The sky is the fucking limit. In other words, there's no limit. I specialize in later diagnosed ADHD women in business. Why? Because that is my fucking lane. I am not here to take care of women who've perhaps been diagnosed their whole life, because it is a specialty for a reason. Women with later diagnosed ADHD have issues that we contend with that others who have had it for a lifetime and who have known since they were children do not. Self-esteem, being told we're to this, to that, to the other thing our whole lives because we did not know we had a neurological condition is a unique thing to us that I understand. My edge is that I do all of my coaching the spicy minded way, which is my ADHD brain and your ADHD brain come together and we make fucking magic. And oftentimes my clients will say, I didn't realize the biggest piece missing for me, one of the big pieces missing for me in my business was another person with ADHD who mentors me and coaches me and understands my brain and the way that it thinks. I have heard that on repeat since I pivoted 2 years ago when I got my diagnosis. Between that and having 25 years of experience, those are my edge. Why am I telling you all of this? It is not to brag. It is not to say that I'm better than anyone else. That is how I speak differently in my arena of mentorship and coaching. Those are the things that are different about me than other mentors or coaches who help people with ADHD, because I specify in women and ones who are diagnosed later in life. And I have more experience than a lot of people on Instagram. So I want you to ask yourself a few questions before I go on. What are your real, unfiltered opinions that you do not say? What are the things you don't talk about? That you're afraid of judgment, or you're afraid of putting it out there, makes you want to pee your pants anytime you hit send. The moment I started doing that, not just for the sake of it, but my true, genuine opinions that are unfiltered, more of my humans came into my life. Another thing to ask yourself is, what is nobody saying in your business arena as a service provider, as a coach, as a mentor? What is no one saying? And you're looking around going, why is nobody saying this? Why is nobody talking about this? Talk about that. For me, it's the messy middle. Nobody talks about being in the messy middle between being a solopreneur and doing all the fucking things for yourself and how to transition from there to being more of a CEO. Like, how to make that happen. That bridge. Nobody fucking talks about that bridge. I do, because it's real. And when I've talked to different people who are my elite women, my real relationships, and I say, do you hear about this specific thing? No one ever talks about that. When I hear that on repeat, I know I'm onto something. So I talk about it. So what is something you notice or observe that you're like, what the fuck? Why isn't anyone saying anything about this? Say it repeatedly and everywhere. Talk about that stuff. What are the things that are your unique advantages over other people? What do you do better than anyone else? You don't have to walk around saying, I'm the best. I'm the best at everything. You can walk around and say, I am the best at this, this, and that, and you're not going to find anyone better at it. And here are testimonials and also clients who are willing to speak to you to tell you that it is the truth. That helps you become a go-to. Having real friendships and real relationships with women who are 10, 50, 100, a million steps ahead of you. Success leaves clues. Let go of jealousy. Let go of envy. Let go of any of that bullshit. Don't look at a ton of different people, but who is in your sphere who has success in a way, not maybe their business model or whatever, but they have gotten to a point of success that you're heading towards. That's where you want to go. Success leaves clues, baby. Drop the fucking ego and learn from those who came before you. Learn from them. Be mentored by them. Be friends with them. Business sisters. Befriend them. I've talked about this before, but I shit you not. It sounds wild, but it is real. When I became friends with certain friends of mine who are at a different level, and it's where I'm going, and I stopped feeling like fucking Frankenstein, and I started really knowing myself and being very curious and understanding who I am, who I'm here to help, and what I do the best, the ego left. And I was really able to learn from them. And funny enough, some of them learn from me, right? That gave me a really amazing shift of perspective because I realized that I am good at certain things that those people aren't as good at, and they want to listen to me. It goes both ways. So take the wisdom and apply it to your unique road that you're on. Take the marrow, the core, and apply it in your way to your life and your business. It changes so many things. You are not mediocre. Stop acting like you are. The competition in your industry is a small pond is where most people play. They like to be the big fish in the small pond because it feels good. But where you learn, where you actually grow, is when you're taken out of your comfort zone and you're in your fear zone. You get out of the fear zone, you learn. You learn, and then the next thing is you grow. The more you become amazing, the better that you become at what you do, the more boldly you speak about it. And then you follow through with that awesomeness every day. And yes, I understand that follow through can be an issue for people with ADHD, but I shit you not, you can follow through. This is coming from a woman who was not diagnosed until I was 49 and couldn't follow through with jack diddly shit in so many ways. And I follow through and finish shit all the time now because I have learned to work with my brain and understand the little tricks that I can play on myself that get me to the finish line. When you position yourself as one of one, that you're not here to be the best, you're here to be the only at what you do, that is where the competition dies away. Put in the reps. Be willing to suck ass at what you do. That is how you get better. Be willing to feel like you are not getting anywhere, even though I guarantee you, you are. I have been there. I thought I am getting nowhere. What the fuck am I doing? Yeah, all of those things now are things that I can utilize to help my clients when they are feeling the same way. You don't just see the fruit of your labor yet. But if you keep your relentless drive and your tenacity, which you are, and you are resilient as fuck, you've had to be to get to where you are today, you will see more success than you can imagine. And the competition will be little to none because nobody does it the way you do, and nobody starts at the top. I'm going to tell you a quick story before I move on. Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germata started playing piano at age 4, and she wrote her first song at 13. She performed at an open mic and in local dive bars relentlessly. She put in those reps, right? Then she started writing for other musicians, pretty decent musicians, and got signed with Def Jam Records. But then her contract got canceled. She went on to sign with Interscope Records, which led to the release of her album, The Fame, in 2008. And her name is Lady fucking Gaga, okay? She was Stephanie before she was Gaga. She played in dive bars before she sold out stadiums. Nothing happens overnight. Be relentless with your belief in yourself and your mission and knowing where you're going, and keep your eye on the fucking vision and the prize. Because it will happen, but only if you do not fucking give up. Changing lanes. I want to tell you a story about what consistency does over time. And that is a story about my Man Cub, my son. I watched my son, who wanted to build a YouTube channel since he was 10, start from zero. And I told him that the most important thing was finding a consistent schedule that he could keep up for him as a college student who also worked part-time. He stayed consistent because he believed in it. He wanted to monetize it. He believed in growing. His goal was 1,000 subscribers. He believed in that before anyone was watching. He posted a short every single fucking day for a year. This is a kid with undiagnosed ADHD, by the way. Every day for 1 year on YouTube and TikTok. That was his ecosystem. He went on TikTok and sent everybody on TikTok to his YouTube. Everything ended in, go to my YouTube, go to my YouTube, go to my YouTube. This is some act as if shit in action. Seriously. He has his very first video he ever created, right? It's very, very funny. It's little 10-year-old him. It's hysterical. But he acted as if the success was already going to be there. And he just kept fucking showing up. He kept showing up. It's almost 4 years later, 3, maybe a little bit longer than that. He has 130,000 YouTube subscribers now. He has a little plaque with his name on it, the whole 9. He's monetized his channel. He's going to be graduating in May. And he learned so many skills of consistency, persistence, not giving up, being relentless, figuring shit out, finding a way. He was gone for 7 days during that. He scheduled that shit out. He set up a regular, longer video schedule of once a week that he has been doing forever. And he has learned so many skills on top of his college education. And I really cannot wait to see what he does with it. Why am I telling you this story about my child? There's a lesson here. Ask yourself the following questions about your business. Do you show up as if you're successful, as if your success is inevitable? Even when no one's clapping yet? Because the kid's goal was 1,000 subscribers. And when he got to 100K, it just started compounding. He wanted to get to 150 this year. It's March. He's already at 130. He's going to surpass that. Getting to that first 1,000 was arduous. It took the most amount of time. But as it started growing, it started compounding. And then he found larger creators to collaborate with. You see where I'm going here? That also helped him grow. No one was clapping except me, his mom. and I think a few of his friends. He kept a lot of it to himself. His subscribers were the ones who really knew where he was at. Anyone who knew where his channel was at. Nobody was clapping, but he was relentless for that year, and shit howdy, it paid off big time. So, do you show up as if your success is inevitable, even when nobody's clapping? What would change if you treated your business as if success was already guaranteed? You just had to keep putting in the reps. Or as if that revenue while you hit is a temporary roadblock that you just need to figure out how to get past. I help with that. And what would you do for a fact? What would you do every day if you knew you were not going to fail? You knew you could not fail. How would you show up? Would you show up the same as you are right now, or would you show up differently? Here's my challenge to you to wrap up this episode. When you put in the reps, you get those 100 hours of doing what you do for your clients and showing up on social media and all that jazz, and you are then better than 95% of people in the world at that thing. You break down 100 hours into a year, that is 18 minutes a day. 18 minutes. What can you commit to each day for 18 minutes where you can learn something that will help you in your business or make you better at what you do? And show up like a leader now. Bring in your personal opinions now. Be a thought leader now, meaning put your thoughts out there that are unique and different than other people in your industry. The opposite. Not just to be polarizing for funsies, but what you actually mean and feel. Act as if now. Even if no one's watching it, because like my Man Cub and our friend Lady Gaga, they believed before they had any proof. And they kept behaving and believing that way until they got the proof. I want you to try that too. 18 minutes a day for 1 year. You've already got the 100 hours in. If you're listening, you've been around a while. But, 18 minutes a day. What could you add to your repertoire? What could you help better? What could you help your clients with even better? And with that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you love this episode, please subscribe to the podcast or YouTube. Give it a 5-star review on Apple. Tell a friend. Send a carrier pigeon. And please feel free to come into my DMs. Tell me what you got in this episode. I'm a connection queen. Community is everything to me. I love to hear from you. So until next week, I see you. I love you. I'm fucking rooting for you always. Stay feral. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.